So my mantra is the universe always protects and provides. And anytime I'm unsure or uncertain, I say that to myself. And so then it came my confidence, like, you know, I built this from nothing, I can build something else, right? And so then that's when I started working on the book. And then that's when I started working on another project called School of Style that I'm launching with my agent and his agency. So what it is built to lessen the gap of people who want to be in fashion and want to be a stylist and actually realizing their dream. As I told you earlier, I have been in service of people for so long. So now what I've realized is that I could be in service of people in a different type of way, which brings me more joy and happiness.
Hey Essence family, my name is Nandi Howard, the Vice President of Content for Essence Magazine, and I'm here with Roach to discuss his new book, How to Build a Fashion Icon. Hey Law. Okay, so of course I have so many questions to ask you, but I first need to get some icebreakers off and ask your favorite vintage brands or your favorite brands that had a vintage run. JPG or Mugler?
Mugler.
Mugler. Chanel or Louis?
Chanel.
Dior or Gucci?
Gucci.
I agree with Gucci with the vintage. Versace or Balmain?
Versace.
Givenchy or Valentino?
Givenchy.
Okay. So I wanted to just kind of get that icebreaker out because we've seen you pull some amazing archival pieces. And I just want to know what was your love for archive and just how were you able to land some of those pieces?
Well, I think my love for archive and vintage is probably from my grandmother's and taking me to thrift stores early, you know, in my life when I was a little boy. I didn't really even understand where I was. I just knew it smelled funny. Yeah. But then growing up and just keeping that memory and thrift stores just being nostalgic and helping me remember my grandmother's legacy and our relationship. So that was part of it. And then also just me, in my career, I always thought of myself as a storyteller. And I think that it just becomes a good story when the clothes have lived another life, you know, and the way things were, you know, just like when I put Zendaya in a piece that belonged to Eunice Johnson for when she received the Essence Award. And, you know, that just became such a great story. And then also Eunice Johnson started trending on Twitter and everybody wants to know who she was, who wasn't familiar with her and her story and the contributions of this Black woman to fashion. So it's just that, it's all about storytelling.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with you, was it something that you like went and got these pieces over the years of your career? Do you go search for them or is this in your personal archive?
Well, I have a personal archive. Okay. The Eunice Johnson piece was in my archive. Okay. And I think I was just waiting for the perfect moment to bring it out. But, you know, it depends on the situation. Sometimes I'm searching for things. I'm a student, so I'm always learning and hunting. And sometimes, you know, rarely the archive of the actual house will open up for me. It's like when you saw me put Bella Hadid in a Versace from 1986, that was actually hand-chosen by Donatella. So she opened up the archives for us to go to Cannes. So in some cases, that actually happens as well. So it's a combination of a lot of things.
Definitely. You spoke on your grandmother being an inspiration. And I know when we had phone calls discussing this conversation, you mentioned that was an inspiration for your book.
Yeah.
And I really just want to dive into that. We were just previously talking about how you're actually happy that you're going in different spaces outside of the styling world, but I know that your grandmother was a big inspiration.
Yeah.
So you can just talk about her and like the love that you have for your grandmother, and then what inspires you to really create this book. How does she inspire
you? I think with a lot of Black people, like churches are introductions to fashion, right? Going and seeing the women in the skirt sets and you know, the stockings and their pumps and the big hats and all that, really kind of gave us or gives us this place to be prideful in our appearance. And so I think we, and me especially, learned that as a young boy, but it also gave me being so close to my grandmother, it also gave me this this appreciation for the art form of being a woman, right? Seeing her start that process on Saturday night, you know, taking a long bath, which we could not bother her when she was taking her bath. And then watching her like do her own pedicure and her own manicure and like roll her hair and lay out the clothes and, you know, the accessories so that the next morning, you know, after breakfast, we all got dressed to go to church and to start that fellowship. So it's those things, and it was things that I didn't know that I was learning because I was so young, but it kept with me, and they kind of resurfaced when I started my journey into fashion.
I feel like a lot of Black people starts with the church. Like there's so much culture, history, community there, and we're seeing that in some of your work. How to build a fashion icon. Where did you even come up with the name? How did that start? Where was the thought process of like, okay, I'm about to create a book?
Well, I had a book deal that had been offered to me a while ago, but I just never had time to to even start the process because I was styling. You know, I was working a lot. And the funny thing about the title is that the title is very deceptive, right? So I wanted to do, you heard us say like, oh, we're going to hide the medicine in the ice cream.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought, well, that's what I was intended on doing because I wanted people to think it was this book about fashion and tips and like what you should wear and what you shouldn't wear. And it's actually not. It's not about that at all. It's about confidence, and it's about using your clothes to build the ultimate level of confidence in yourself. So when you're able to do that, you become your own fashion icon or your own icon of whatever it is that you're doing. Right. So it was just my way of, you know, sneaking the message in. But on the other side of that, I can really name it that because I did build an icon because, you know, a couple years ago, Zendaya won CFDA's fashion icon. So it's like there's truth in the title as well. So so that was the idea behind it.
So when you sort of announced to the world, you know, I'm not doing styling anymore, did you already have it in your head that you were creating a book, or you were going to, so you didn't know that?
No, I didn't. I retired because I was tired and I was stressed and I was becoming a person that I never wanted to become. You know, I found myself being very selfish and self-centered. And I think when you're in a realm where you work with a lot of celebrities, people start to treat you a certain type of way. And they put me on this pedestal that I never asked to be put on. Because I started my career later, and, you know, I always thought of myself as being able to remain humble and grounded. And there was a lot of things going on. It was a family tragedy. It was just so many things. And I really wrote the text message, the Instagram post, not necessarily, I know I wanted to, not necessarily saying it, thinking that it was going to become as big as it was.
Yeah.
I really wanted my phone to stop ringing, to be honest. Like, I wanted to post something where people could be like, okay, he's retired, let's leave him alone. But it actually had the reverse effect. I started to get more calls and more inquiries and other people, you know, asking me to style them. And then my publisher came back around and was like, well, maybe this might be a great time to write your memoir. But I didn't want to write a memoir. I wanted to write something short and sweet, and something that's super tangible that people can have takeaways and hopefully, you know, improve their life.
Yeah, no, something we talked about was making it digestible, just something easy to read. And as you were writing this, was that a goal of yours to say, I want somebody to read this?
Yes, I wanted it to feel like a simple self-help manual with a lot of call to action. You know, that's why there's so many tips of, you know, things to do. Go into your closet, figure out what your power piece is. Go to a store and try on a bunch of things that you, in your mind, think you don't like. Because what I figured out is just like our palette matures for food, our palette for style and color and silhouettes also mature. And we just need to challenge ourselves to just really try again and figure it out.
You mentioned that this job made you a little selfish, but I feel like styling is selfless. Like you have to get the clothes for the people, like put the shoes on. Obviously you have assistants and things like that to do some of that gritty work, but you didn't feel like that was a selfless job? Yeah,
it is a selfless job. It's also a thankless job. But it's also a service industry job. And I think that's what people don't realize. You know, I was in service of so many people for so many years, but it made me selfish. And I told the story in the book where one of my uncles passed away, and his daughter was planning the funeral. So she made the arrangements and she called me and she said, hey, we're going to have the funeral. It's going to be on Friday. And I had a fitting on Friday and I said, hey, what do you think about changing the funeral to Sunday so that I can come? And, in the moment, that didn't feel selfish to me. But when I was going through and going through my memories, and I was like, how selfish was it for me to ask my cousin who's grieving her father's death to change the arrangements to accommodate me to be able to come to the funeral.
And in that moment, you didn't think of it.
I didn't think of it. But, it's exactly what it was doing. It was all about me and the work that I was doing and where I had to be, and nothing else mattered. And so, with the stress of the job and the tragedy, another tragedy in my family, like all these things started to weigh on me at the same time. And it was, in my opinion, it was the universe's way of telling me, okay, take a beat, slow down, reevaluate who you are as a person and what your goals are, and also what your values are.
Definitely. So you touched on something where you're like, I didn't ask to be a role model or these types of things, but sometimes celebrities, entertainers get thrown into that position because of their magnitude. Can you speak a little bit about that, just that feeling of, we were just talking about this, everybody aspiring to be or aspiring after your career, but that's not necessarily even what you want at times.
No. I appreciate that part, right? I appreciate that every lump and bump I've taken, in my journey through this industry to get to the top of this industry is less lumps and bumps that somebody behind me will have to take, especially people who look like me, especially the people who come from where I come from, right? So I enjoy that because when I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not here anymore, I want my legacy to be more than he put beautiful dresses on beautiful girls, right? I want to have a legacy of being able to really help people and change the industry. And so that part I do. I have many fashion children, kind of all over the world now that do look up to me and who call me for advice. And, it's I have a couple of people texting me now, like, I really need help for Fashion Week. And those are my babies. And my ultimate goal is to see them succeed and be as successful as me or even more successful than me. So when it's all over, I have this family tree where I'm sitting up at top as mother. And then it's all these branches of people whose life I've been able to change and affect in a good way.
I don't think people hear that side of you often, like the wanting to give back to the next generation. I think people are like, Law's doing him, but to hear you say like, no, I'm actually invested in that next generation.
No, but that's the persona that I kind of created for myself. Like I created just like, don't touch me, don't talk to me. But that was just really me putting a guard up because this industry could be so terrible to people, and you don't know who to trust and who not to trust. And I also said this in a podcast. I said that I became this person because I didn't want you to invite me to your birthday party. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to have the pressure of showing up and then, not being able to show up, and then I'm this person, another person. So I just kind of created this wall where like, oh, he's so rude, and what did they say, so nasty and so rude. I'm not like that. I never treat people that type of way, but I think it's the persona that comes before me.
A lot. Like, you have to have that guard up. It's sometimes when people have social anxiety and people are like, they're rude, but it's like, no, they're actually really shy. Right. They're just putting up that guard.
Yeah, it was my way to protect myself.
Yeah.
And also to keep the blinders on, And so that's what people think. But the people who know me, the people that's around me, I always say, if you don't really know me if I ain't been to your house and you ain't been to mine and I don't know your mama.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really know me. You know what I mean?
Like if you ain't met the family.
Right. And then, also people will call you their friend and create all these experiences they had with you. So I try to limit that. But now that I'm not that same person, like now I think I'm more open to new relationships and new friendships and stuff like that. Yeah.
One more question sort of about the career before we dive into the book a little bit. When you did announce that you were retiring, did you call your girls like Zendaya and Celine and be like,
nobody.
So when they saw that, were they a little like, Law, what's going on?
Yeah, especially Zendaya. She gave me some time to this. She was like, damn, like, I know, sister, you didn't tell me. But it was so impromptu. I had flew to Miami because the next day I was walking in the Boss show.
Okay.
So I flew to Miami for my fitting, and when I got off the plane and got in the car, I was with my publicist at the time, and I was just in tears. And I just went and got that generic picture. I was like, Google retirement, and the first image came up, and then I wrote the caption, and that was that. And her phone started ringing, my phone started ringing. And so it was just, at that point, I felt so heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like that was the only way to like take this burden off of my shoulders. And I cried all the way from the airport, all the way till we got to the fitting. I dried my eyes, walked in, and everybody had seen it. So when I walked in, people were like, "I lost it." And they went and told Naomi. Naomi Campbell was there, and I could hear her calling my name from her dressing room, like, "Law, come in here." And she sent me out. She's like, "You can't do it. You can't let them make you quit." She called Edward Interphone on the phone, and they were like, "Law, you can't. You're too important to us. You're important to the..." And it was just like all these things, but I was so numb that I wasn't receptive to anything. It was like, "Take the post down. You didn't mean to do that." And I went and I did the fitting, and the next day I walked in the boss show, and it was really interesting because there was a water feature, and it was windy in Miami, and as I was walking, this water was hitting me, and I felt almost as if I was being baptized, and that for some reason made me feel like I had made the right decision. I felt like this instant rebirth, and so it just everything was kind of like happening to me. The right time and for the right reason.
I mean, when it's the right moment, you'll know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, clearly what's happened with your career after has only shown that. I wanted to dive into just the evolution of style. And do you think, how do you think the definition of having an iconic style has changed over the years? Like, especially with social media and then, but back in the day, you really just had to walk on the streets and have that it factor. What do you think has changed between in the past and today?
Well, I think the change is really for the good, because I feel like so many people are so more authentically themselves and less trend driven. I think that individuality is celebrated now, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I think the younger generation has really pushed that to the forefront, and I love it. I love to see people doing their own thing, you know, and not following trends. Of course, it's okay to be inspired by trends or trendy things, but to figure out a way to adapt that and make it your own, I think it's really special.
No, I absolutely agree. So can you discuss a moment where you felt like your work created a trend or sort of transcended fashion and made an artistic statement? Is there one?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
there's plenty.
But I think the most important and the most recent is Zendaya's On the Challengers press tour. I think we really pushed tennis court to the forefront. Even literally, like I love. This is so funny because everybody luxury law, but I love cheap Hanes sweatpants from Target.
I love that.
And so I went to Target just to grab like a sweatsuit or whatever because I love to travel with them. And like tennis court was like at the front of the store, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, this was a movement. This was way bigger than I ever thought it could be. And then you start to see like all the brands like really pushing tennis court. And also for us to take a person who didn't exist that you never heard of, Tashi Duncan, which was Zendaya's character, and really like almost made her a real person, was kind of like, I think one of my biggest achievements where I really said like, oh, okay, I got something. I got some magic.
I didn't really think of it that way, but I 100% agree. Like, I think Zendaya definitely pushed tennis court, and it's really cool to see just moments where you all are just doing y'all and creating actually turns into like, because my email was all tennis court, you know, shop this tennis court.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was interesting because Zendaya never posted any of that.
No,
she never posted any of that. All those impressions and everything just came from my social media. So, you know, I was like patting myself on the back, like, I really did that.
So I want to talk about resilience in the industry because you do touch on that in the book. How do you just cultivate resilience and authenticity in your work in an industry that sort of prioritizes like what's hot now over like that real work, which you talked about, nothing's wrong with trends, but just how do you make sure you remain yourself within work that you do with just your special girls or even just work outside of styling?
I just think it's confidence, right? And that's why I wrote the book, to help people find that ultimate confidence. And that's all it is. If you do something and you know it's right, no matter who tells you otherwise, you have to remain and stand strong in your, can we curse?
Yeah.
You got to stand strong in your own shit, right? You know what I mean? Like, and when you get confident enough to get to a place where you can say, F you, that, like, that's the ultimate confidence. That F you is the ultimate confidence. And once you hit that place, then everything else is easy.
Yep.
It's easy to wear what you want to wear. It's easy to say what you want to say. It's easy to do what you want to do because you've hit that point of just like, fuck it, fuck you, fuck it. I don't care. This is who I am. And when you get that, then everything you do is going to be from a place of authenticity.
Definitely. I think some people watching would say, do I need to have the access and the money to just be like, F it?
No.
Or should I, like, can I have that confidence starting out in the industry?
Yeah, listen, fashion is just about access, right?
It is.
That's just access. Some of the techiest people in the world are the richest people in the world. You know what I mean? Style is inherent. Style is what you were born with. Style is what you cultivate on your own. So it's two totally different things, right? You can have, I didn't have anything. And that's what took me back into the thrift stores because I couldn't afford to go and buy all the things. But I knew I was born with style, right? So I would go and get like old suits from like the 60s wearing with like a t-shirt and some Air Force Ones, and like people like, damn, that's fly. You know what I mean? And I paid $6 for that suit. You know what I mean? And back then I think Air Force Ones was like $80. You know what I mean? So that's what I was born with, right? I learned fashion. I learned the industry of fashion. I learned the business of fashion, right? So, you don't have to worry about what you have now. It's this confidence. Do what you think is right.
Definitely. Buy the book.
It's all in the book.
It's all in the book. So kind of just we're tailing towards the end, but I did want to just ask some lessons from setback and just legacy of your style and what you hope. Can you share a particular setback or not, just share the feeling that you faced in your career and how you just really overcame that, or just kind of how it's propelled you into the next step of your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could use the retirement as the greatest example of that.
Okay.
So when I walked away, you have everybody, all your friends first are like, oh my God, how could you quit? Your business manager, hey, how could you walk away from all this money? My agents, like especially all the other people that make money because you're making money.
Yep.
They're the first ones to make sure, call you and say, are you making the right decision? And then you go through, for me at least, because me being Roach, the image architect, had become such a big part of who I was as a person, I had to grieve that person, right? That person died after that Instagram post. And so, and there's steps of grieving, right? So one of the biggest steps that I had to face is guilt. So I was thinking, what about all the people who really looked up to me and who looked for me to be the person that's pushing through the industry and breaking the glass ceiling and pushing doors open and telling other people, no, fuck you, and, speaking my mind and talking about the big designers and what they did and what they didn't do. And I got into a place, I was so depressed. I was like, I let these people down. I let all my babies down. I let my kids down. So I had to get through that, and then I had a brief bout of depression because of the guilt. And then you start to worry about, okay, so if I was making this amount of money and I'm not doing that, how do I sustain myself? I have a certain lifestyle. And so then you worry about that. But then that's when, your belief system comes in, right? So my mantra is the universe always protects and provides. And anytime I'm unsure or uncertain, I say that to myself. Yeah. And so then it came my confidence, like, I built this from nothing, I can build something else, right? And so then that's when I started working on the book. And then that's when I started working on another project called School of Style that I'm launching with my agent and his agency. So what it is built to lessen the gap of people who want to be in fashion and want to be a stylist and actually realizing their dream. But not only that, actually being able to find a job. So it's one part entertainment, education, and employment. Yeah. So you go through the course, you get a certification, and you're automatically pushed into this tunnel where you can get representation from a styling agency. Yeah. So, there's a ton of, online platforms like, oh, you can take this and learn this, but they can't promise you a job, and School of Style can. And so those are the things I've been working on. As I told you earlier, I have been in service of people for so long. So now what I've realized is that I could be in service of people in a different type of way, which brings me more joy and happiness.
No, definitely. When we were talking about you giving back to Gen Z, pouring into the next generation, I was thinking, I'm like, he should start something, to teach them, because I feel like so many kids, so many talented people want to style, want to get into the industry, but people aren't hiring us or us in magnitude.
Yeah, and it's also the real big problem is this, right? So I've had so many interns over the course of my career. I've had little Black girls from Indiana or Idaho that moved to LA with a big dream, right? Yep. I've had others that have moved from places with a big dream. And more times than not, the others, they have a parent or a family member that say, hey, you can move to LA, we'll pay your rent for 6 months while you figure it out, while you can devote 40 hours a week to go and learn from this person that you look up to. And the other girl, on the other hand, she doesn't have that same opportunity or those resources. So she has to come and give me 10 hours a week because she has to work 2 jobs so she can pay the rent, because now she's left the Midwest and came to LA, and the cost of living is triple the amount of what she's used to. So that's what we build a School of Style for, this so that people can have an even playing field, and you don't have to, you don't have to break the bank or put yourself in, bad situations just to learn the information.
Yeah, and I think it takes a good leader to understand that, though, because you could be a leader that's like, oh, well, this girl only giving me 10 hours. I'm going to go with this other employee. But to know that and be like, I want to create.
No, I know that because that's where I came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I came to LA. I was sleeping on couches, too.
Yeah.
I was just able to, to really, because of my relationship with Zendaya and just because of my hustle, I was able to do it. But everybody is not going to have that. So what we plan on doing at School of Style is being that for other people.
Definitely. Just to close out, like I said, a couple more. How do you see the connection between personal style and mental health? Do you think that fashion can serve as a tool to help you sort of get out that depression, get out what you're
Absolutely. And I talk about it in the book, your power piece.
Exactly.
It's your power piece. It's that piece, especially for girls, you may have a dress that you've worn before. Every time you wear, you get so many compliments. You get so many looks. You know what it looks like from every angle, right?
Yep.
And if you wake up in the morning and you have somewhere to go and you're not really feeling it, you put that dress on, you put your power piece on, because it automatically transforms you to having the feeling of feeling good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, it's not how I made my clients look, it's how I made them feel. Yeah. It's the confidence. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we need to be reminded, I have a power piece, like anything, I can throw on a white oversized button-down shirt with anything, roll the sleeves up, I feel crisp. I feel clean, I feel classic, you know what I mean? And I can just go and I don't have to think about it because I know how it makes me feel.
Having that uniform a little bit. Yeah. The future of fashion. Yes. So there's so many people talk about disadvantages, this, that, but what do you want to see for the future of fashion, despite what people are saying on the internet or just in the rooms that you're in? What's one thing that you would like to see in fashion?
I want to see what all of us people of color want to see. I want to see a more even playing field, right? I want to see not only our Black celebrities becoming faces of brands, but also having equity in those brands. Mm-hmm. I want to see us with more brands and us as a people actually supporting them, right? It's okay to post somebody's something, but if you're not really going out and spending money, the finances is what changed people's lives, right?
Yeah.
You can post about it, you can talk about it, but if you're not actually going out and buying, for me, for young brands, even though people are like, oh, I'll just send it to you. No, I'm going to spend money with you. Because that's the only way we're going to change the dynamic of our people in this country.
No, definitely. And to wrap this up, I wanted to know, what do you tell that young boy in Chicago who was just trying to figure it out, who just wanted to move to LA and get, grind it out, and now you have this book out, you really took a hold of your career and took control of it. What would you tell that young boy in Chicago?
nigga, we made it.
and is that it?
Period.
Period. Exactly. Well, thank you, Law. Thank you for coming to
having me.
Essence. We are super appreciative.
Thank you.